We're going to try a balance sheet example. Suppose Bubba's Kangaroo Safari Company has $240,000 in current assets and $230,000 in bonds outstanding. The firm also has $460,000 in net fixed assets and $300,000 in total equity. What is the firm's current liabilities? Always go to your question. You're being asked about the firm's current liabilities. If you skim through the problem, you're also given current assets, bonds outstanding, net fixed assets, and total equity. All of those things are on the balance sheet, so it's a good idea to draw a balance sheet template. So we've got our 6 main pieces on our balance sheet template: current assets, net fixed assets, current liabilities and long-term debt, common stock, and retained earnings. So now we'll go ahead and fill in as much as we can to see if we can calculate current liabilities. The problem tells us that we have $240,000 in current assets, so we can go ahead and fill that in on our template next to current assets. The problem also tells us that we have $230,000 in bonds outstanding. Bonds outstanding are long-term debt, so we're going to go ahead and fill that in next to long-term debt on our balance sheet. Then we're told that net fixed assets are $460,000, so we'll fill that in next to net fixed assets on our balance sheet. And finally, we're told that our total equity is $300,000, so we'll fill that in next to equity on our balance sheet. Even if you're not quite sure where to go yet, the best thing to do is total as much as you can and fill in as much as you can of the balance sheet, and you'll be able to figure it out along the way. We'll start over on the assets side because we know that current assets plus net fixed assets gives us total assets. So $240,000 plus $460,000 gives us $700,000 in total assets. Now you may be able to see that you have an equation at the bottom of your balance sheet. You have assets equals liabilities plus equity. We have assets and we have equity, so we can solve for liabilities. So let's go ahead and write down that equation. So assets equals liabilities plus equity. We have $700,000 in assets and $300,000 in equity. To solve for liabilities, we'll subtract $300,000 from both sides. It cancels out on the right-hand side, and we're left with liabilities are equal to $400,000. So now we can fill that in on our balance sheet. And if we look at the liabilities section, we can see that current liabilities plus long-term debt gives us total liabilities. Since we have long-term debt and total liabilities, we can solve for current liabilities. So let's go ahead and write down that equation. Current liabilities plus long-term debt equals total liabilities. Long-term debt is equal to $230,000 and total liabilities to $400,000. To solve for current liabilities, we'll subtract both sides by $230,000. It cancels out on the left-hand side, and we're left with current liabilities are equal to $170,000. So we fill that in on our balance sheet, and that's the answer to the question. We were asked what the firm's current liabilities are, and we've calculated them to be $170,000.